Great. All right, here we go. We're recording. Excuse me, I'm gonna drink some water. My mouth is dry. All right. Welcome, the mighty three that are on with us. And then for the rest of you guys seeing this recording, welcome. We are going to go through some hiring stuff. To be honest, because most of you have gone, or all of you have gone through the hiring process in terms of becoming a pair and in other roles, a lot of this will be familiar to you. We want to really give some context around being hired as a teacher and some of the things to look out for. And then Johari and I will answer some questions at the end. But let's jump right on in. So the hiring season has started for teachers. I've sent out the application instructions a couple weeks back, and we'll talk a little bit about those here. But it's going from now until July. So things you probably heard me and Johari say is that over the past 20 years, we've been able to place 100% of folks that pass either summer training or the apprentice program from last year. So we're confident that you're going to get a position. You already have dealt with the city schools, you know, the ups and downs of dealing with bureaucracy and the different departments and things of that nature. So it's not I don't have to go into a lot of detail with you all, just because you know more so than the people that are coming in this summer and haven't worked with Baltimore City in. All right, so hiring details. Again, the first thing is really getting your application up to date. So the instructions we'll talk about, and you're going to be going through as an internal candidate. So you already have an application. You just need to go in and update, and we'll talk about that. The other thing is that we just need transcript in order to make sure that you're eligible to be activated in the system. And so if you don't have your transcripts and you sent it to us, we can get those copies to you digitally. But you probably already have them uploaded into your application with City Schools. We just need a copy of it to confirm and make sure that we can do credit checks and things of that nature on it. So how will you know if you're eligible? So right now, Elizabeth, my assistant's going through and updating and let you know if the district has something that they want you to update on your application. If you get one of those, follow through with them. It may take the district like 3 to 5 days to update it, and then we'll get back to you. If your application is activated, we'll send you an email saying, "Hey, you're activated. You should probably start hearing from principals and schools." So usually, what happens when you get activated, before we even tell you, you probably will get contacts from principals and school leaders through ATS because they'll see you, they'll look you up and go through. Johari, anything you want to add in terms of like pairs? Because I don't know if many of them are staying in their schools or something different, or something I should add
The
specifically for
only,
pairs here.
I would say the only thing that I would say is for the parents that are on this call, the ones who will listen to the recording, if you have a principal that has expressed a direct interest in hiring you at their school, not a wondering or that'll be cool, but like they literally said, like, hey, next year I want you to teach third grade, pre-K, sixth grade, seventh grade, something very specific. Please let us know because you'll get to this point when principals start asking us about, hey, who do you have? We share everyone's names, even though principals can see it. But if you know that you have a position in your school because your principal has said, I am putting you in my 2026, 2027 budget, please let us know because then there are some things that we already know, like, oh, they're good, they're fine. We don't have to worry about.
Great, thanks. Okay, so your responsibility in getting a position, if you're going to stage school, the stuff that Johari said, that applies here as well. But you're responsible for finding a full-time teaching position in the district in your certification area. And then we've probably talked about this before, but like I said, we're confident that you're going to be in a position. We want you to be in the best position for you. Now, if you're going to stay at your school, that's cool. You know the community there. If you want to move schools and be a teacher at a different school or want to interview and look at offers from other schools, we want you to make sure that you contact us if you have an offer before you accept it. We want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to make a great decision along with your interview impression of the school. Because once you sign that contract, you have to be at that school for 2 years. And so we want to make sure that you have all that information from us. Ultimately, you're going to decide whether to accept the position or not, but we want to make sure that we provide you with the most information so that you can make those decisions. So information is power here, and we have a lot of information just from our staff, alumni, and current residents as well. And then district processing. Johar and I talked to district processing today. They said that everyone on the list is good. They may have you come in and do some signing or changes some stuff, but that'll be along with your offer. So if you accept an offer, they'll start the other things for you. And I'll let you know if they have come across with anything. But as far as they're concerned, you're all good for your background checks and everything. This is really for our summer folks that are new to Baltimore City. So we'll skip over this. Everyone's done the district processing. If you do have questions about moving from a paraprofessional position to a teaching position, let Johari and I know so that we can communicate with the district on your situation because it may be something that we need to talk through with your school leaders and human capital and us. But this is basically information for people that are new to Baltimore City. Okay, so this is where we're talking about the application. So the hiring application information I sent out maybe like a month ago now. I know a lot of you have been working your way through. I know a few of you have already been activated in the system, which is great. If you're still working through your school, updating your hiring application, the things that you do need that are new, you may not need your transcripts, but you may will need to update your resume, and using that template or the language in the template that we have. Jar, did you want to say something?
My only thought is, especially for this group, if you all have not, if you've taken coursework since maybe you became a para and you sent us your transcript, but you've taken coursework since you started with the district, then consider making sure that we have access to
Mm-hmm.
everything versus just what you initially started off. So, for example, if say for instance you started off with your bachelor's degree in say psychology, but you've taken coursework and you have a master's degree or you have a second bachelor's, even though your bachelor's degree, your initial one is enough to get you in our program, it's important that we have everything because those are things that you also can have a conversation with the district about as it relates to how much you get paid and different things like that. So make sure
Mm-hmm.
everything, all of the transcripts that you have access to, not just the ones that actually allowed you to qualify for your job, are the things that we actually can see also.
Yeah, that's important. Thanks, Johari, for bringing that up. Yeah, make sure we have everything so that we can move that through in your licensure because it could mean extra funds in your salary. The only other thing in addition that you wouldn't have done when you did your para application is what's bolded on the right hand side here, teach ID or teach individual ID. Basically, you're just going to go in, use this link, and make a teach ID. That's all you're going to do. You're not going to submit anything. This will be for later. They just want you to have an individual ID that you'll type into update your application. Again, this is a link. It's in the instructions. You can click it and just log into if you don't have that link in. The one thing that the district did want to call out is that your application type is going to be internal employee application. So you're already current city schools employee. This will just update your application and give you the prompts to do that. So make sure you do that and don't go through a standard because it's going to treat you as someone coming in, or it may not even give you the standard one. But if you do see a standard application option, don't do that. That's if you're coming new to the district. You're already in, so you're going to do the internal. The other thing that's going to be new is that you are going to apply the application type for you is going to be teachers and licensed professional. So I will say last year, sometimes this didn't pop up for some of our parents. If this comes up, let me and Johari know so that we can have the district updated so that you get that option. But this is the only option that you want to take. Go ahead, Johari.
I was going to share this, and you shared this in the last meeting. Please don't apply for everything. Like, we had a para last year who is a teacher this year, and I think just out of haste and concern, and it's just being a new thing, she just wanted to make sure she was good, and she applied for a teacher and school police. She applied for a lot of different things. She just checked a lot of boxes. And so, for the sake of this, please make sure you just focus on the teaching position and not applying for a random amount of things that don't necessarily apply to BCTR.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
still start to feel anxious, talk to us, but please don't.
Yeah. And those things, when you do too much, it slows down your application for sure. And you don't want that. Again, here's the stuff that you must do under the internal tab. Again, don't worry about the external tab. So, your teach ID is what's new. Any updated transcripts and things of that nature you want to pull through, especially if you were a para before you got a bachelor's degree. You want to make sure that that's all up to date. And then references. You can use Johari and I as references if you don't want to use current folks or whatever. We can be references for that. So put our names down. We are fine with that. Once you get all that in, you're going to apply for positions. Again, your position title should all be teaching positions. You shouldn't see things like that are here, administrative assistant. You should see teaching. And then you want to apply for what only your areas of certification. So if you're early childhood, only apply to the early childhood pool. Elementary ed, only the elementary ed pool. If you're special ed and elementary ed dual cert, apply for only the special ed positions. Where it gets a little tricky is for our English and math folks. You will definitely apply for the secondary math, but you can also apply for middle school, but you will only be able to teach seventh and eighth grade middle. So your certification will allow you to teach from seventh grade to 12th grade. And so if a principal wants to hire you at a school teaching seventh and eighth grade in math or English, you could accept those positions. It's just the sixth grade, but usually middle school principals know that, and they can usually work it out so that you can teach just those two grades. You'll see these buttons here, apply for the job. Once you go apply for it, it'll bring you back to the normal page and it'll say you've applied for early childhood or whatever the certification area that you're looking for. Last one is the EPI test. I believe everyone here has done the EPI test. If it does come up or send you an email to take it, go ahead and take it. But I think all applications, whether it's teaching or not, have to take the EPI test. But if you do have to take it, this little tidbits apply. So if you do have to take the test, at least set aside 45 minutes or so to complete it in one setting. Because if you start it and don't finish and then log out and log back in, it's going to start you back from the beginning. So I don't want you to get frustrated with that. Just know that going in, if you have to do it. I don't think you do. If you do see it, let me know just so I can just check with the district and see if that is real. But if you do have to do it, just make sure you have time set aside to do it. And then a lot of the stuff you've already done. So the onboarding, fingerprints, orientation, all those things you'll probably not have to take a part of. I know the district told us today that like the 401k stuff and all that is fine. There may be some updated things, but they will let you know when you accept the position if there's anything in addition that you need in the process. And then here's the email if you want to connect with city schools. But you have us as a primary connection as well for your application. And so hopefully, as we go through, you'll get more emails from me and Elizabeth about where your application is over the next couple weeks. Before we head into the next session, Johari, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think we're good. And so far, nothing in the chat.
Okay. Okay, so best interviewing practices. So this is probably the bulk of what Johari and I really want to impart to you, moving from a pair position into a teaching position. So you guys know the dress codes, the culture, and the schools and things of that nature. So you have a advantage than some of our newer folks coming in for the first time. The things that you may not be as confident on is moving from that pair position to a teaching position. And so, one of the things that we talk about in the interviews, and one of the things that's going to be compelling for principals if you're going to be moving outside your own school community, is really understanding and being able to communicate your why of why you're moving from a pair to a teacher. Everybody that is in this program has a strong story to tell about why they got into education, why they want to move into teaching, especially if you've already been in schools as a para. There's, I'm sure, a very strong story of why you want to move from para to teacher. And so you want to be able to talk about that. That is going to be your biggest asset for principals. They know that you're going to be in a program that's going to teach you these things about lesson planning and curriculum. If they ask you those questions, be very honest and say, "Hey, I don't really understand it," or "I'm learning that now with there, but we're going to finish up our apprentice training later this spring." You can just say those things and be honest. But for most school leaders, they're looking for your why story. And so what we want people to do is be able to tell that story in a succinct way. Think about 4 to 5 sentences that says, "This is why I want to do it," so that you're not, drawing out a story, but you're making a very succinct, very short, powerful message about who you are and why you want to be a teacher in the classroom. That is a lot of what principals are looking for. I'm going to let Johari speak because I know she's hired many of teachers as a principal, so love to hear what you have to say.
So the only thing I would add, and I shared this when we did this with our traditional pathway folks who are going to train over the summer. But I think to Sean's point, you all have an advantage is you all have already worked in Baltimore City. You're currently working in Baltimore City Public Schools. So under the be confident and to be prepared, I want you to consider whether you are a parent that is a long term or you are a parent that is serving in a traditional role where you are pushing in or pulling out kids and working in sporadic places. I want you to start thinking about the population of children that you serve, what you do for them, and how you bring that to the interview. So, for example, if you are a long term sub and you're in maybe say an elementary school class, but you're applying for even high school, what you can talk about is what it means to report every day and actually run a classroom. You can talk about, even if you're not doing a lesson planning, teaching every day based off of the lesson plans that you were given, the classroom support you put in place, the classroom management tools you use. Think about those CSB sessions that Adam has run, and think about those things that you are currently implementing in a classroom that are already happening where a principal doesn't have to think, do you know how to do this? You're saying to the principal, I know it. The opposite of that. Say you are a paraeducator who is working in a traditional space where you are pulling out and pushing in with kids. Think about the population or the data that's used to identify those children. You could be supporting reading strategy. All of those things that you are doing are purposeful things that principals need to know about from a positive perspective that you are doing as the educator in the room. Parent educator, you're the educator in the room. So one thing that you have that's a leg up on people that are just walking freshly into education and have never been in a classroom before is that you work with population of kids, you've worked with administration, you've done a lot of the things that people are learning how to do, you've actually done. So think about how you add to that 4 to 5 minute elevator speech, include those things that you are doing now from a positive perspective. Please do not complain about what administration had you doing. Look at it from the perspective of who are you serving and what were you able to do.
No, I think that's super important. I think the one of really being positive is a good point. I know, you know, I know Johari and myself have worked in education, so we have some things that we could complain about, right? And when you're with your close friends, you can complain about those things, but you want to really go into this experience, not putting in off the things that you know, but also you really want to come and bring a positive spin to the community that you're coming into, and marry that with your understanding, but in your interview, you're really trying to put a best foot forward and really putting in the idea of like what you would like to see change, maybe about the system or these things, but do it in a positive light where it is coming from a place of wanting to build up. Here we go. And so this is basically just a thing of just skills that principals want to know. Again, there are transferable skills like knowledge of content and classroom experience, which you all have. Transferable skills, professionalism, leadership, building community, those things. But the main thing is that they want to see your mindset coming into it. Are you going to be someone that can learn and grow with the community? And you can talk about your experience this school year with the apprentice program. All those things that you've sat and done with Adam and other folks in that space are helping you to be ready to be a person that gets into a situation that can learn from a situation and be adaptive and move forward. We already talked about just coming up with your story. That is also important and part of that mindset. It shows that you have a mission and that you want to be teaching and that you want to build in that community of schools and help those students be the best that they can be. So this page is a couple of things of like interview questions to prepare for. Um, and a lot of this, again, have most of it like things like why do you want to teach in Baltimore City? I would imagine a lot of you are like, hey, I'm already here. I love what I do. I want to contribute more. Other things on here, like the plans. What is your plan for the next couple years? And I think that how that plays into what a school community wants to do or build. But there are also things that you should ask of the school. One of the things I always tell folks to do is if you're going to a new school, go onto the website, see the school's website. That every school on Baltimore City on their main BCPS site has a link to their school. Usually, you can find a message from the principal or a community mission plan or anything like that, and just really get to know that and what that school might be wanting to do with their school community, what goals do they have for their students and things of that nature. And then ask questions of what the principal's goals are if you're in that interview, but also ask them like what are some obstacles and what are some wins that they've had. And you can learn a lot about school leadership, about a school by the way that they focus on goals, but also how they overcome obstacles and things of that nature. And you can take a look at some of these things here. Johar, do you have any other additional things that, and if you were sitting in a principal seat, like what would you want to hear and what would you want to ask of folks coming into your school?
I would say, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying. If I'm a principal and I know that you have been an active parent in Baltimore City, one of the questions I'm going to ask is, as a parent, what did you do? Who did you support? And what changes did you see? And principals don't need a long elevator talk. They need you to be very succinct. I worked with X population. I helped them do these particular things, and I supported this particular type of classroom. Like boom, boom, boom. Like keep it simple, but just consider like the X factors that you helped impact, and let the principal do a lot of questions, but don't give way too much information. Because the other thing is, and I shared this with a small group of you, principals talk. So if you are a para at a school and principals can see that you are, they're going to call, you don't know if that principal knows that person or if they're going to call that principal. So be very careful about speaking about personalities. Speak about the work that you do, like that X factor, and leave it at that. Let the principal do a lot of digging, but speak to, again, the population you work with, the data that was used to help support that population, and the outcomes that you saw. Like, keep it simple.
Great. Thanks. All right. So we talked a lot about this already, but again, I want to just reiterate: we are confident that you're going to find a position if you don't have one already. We want, if you're going to be looking at new schools, we really want you to think of it as a time that you have the most power in your adventure of becoming a teacher because you get to pick the school at this point. And so the hiring process can be a little nerve wracking sometimes, and having offers, and a lot of times, especially for our folks that are coming in for the summer, they're like, I just want to get a job. I just want to get the first thing that, comes to me so that I know that I can not think about this anymore, which is, understandable. But you really need to understand that you'll have a position, but we want you to be in the right position. That is the concern for not only me and Johari, but for all of our staff. And I'm sure if you talk to Adam, he would say the same thing. Everyone that's come through BCTR knows that your school community has a large impact on how you do in the residency. And so we want to be able to give you that information. Communication is key in this. So, again, we understand we're not insensitive to any anxiety that this brings up, this testing, job search and all that. But our concern is a little more long term in terms of you not only getting a job, but thriving in the space that you're at. We, for the majority of our folks, they have great experiences, but we've had people that haven't heeded kind of this information and have just taken on jobs on a whim mostly and wind up in schools like, I wish I had this, or I wish I had this support, I wish I had that support. And we're like, we could have coached you through it, but we understand the anxiety. So if you're feeling that anxiety, or really need to talk to someone, definitely Johari and I are here to talk through some of that stuff. Even during one of your classes, if you want to pull staff aside that you see there, everyone that's a BCTR staff person or alum will tell you the same thing. Your community is going to be your number one ally. And so you'll hear us talk about that a lot in this process. But we want you to know, first of all, communicate, and that we're here to provide as much support as we can. George, do you want to add anything there?
The last thing that I was thinking about as you were talking, Sean, was you're not competing with anyone. Um, don't go into any of the interviews with principals. And this is for those of you who are not going to be placed at your school. You're not competing with other folks. You are showing up as yourself. And so I think the benefit of being a part of the school district is there are a lot less surprises for you. The downfall of being a part of the school district is you've already started to hear messages about who's a good principal, who's not, what's a good school, what's not a good school, what's a good practice, what's not a good practice. And you're going to have to unlearn some of those things that you've heard that are fiction or somebody's opinion versus fact. When you go into the interview, whether you're going in as a parent that's transitioned to a teacher, don't consider, well, I got to show off to this principal to make sure that they know. What you have is enough in that particular space, and you got to believe that you're going to end up where you're supposed to be. So, for instance, if, say, for instance, you're somebody who works with a particular population of kids, speak about yourself as a support, not an expert, because what you don't know is all of the responsibilities that those who may be the formal classroom teacher are responsible for. You may be very good at the support that you're giving, but you may not fully understand all of the things that say the classroom teacher is responsible for. And you don't want to speak about your skills in a way where it's like, I know everything. Speak about your skills in a way of, this is what I've done well in accordance to what I was asked to do, and this is what I look forward to learning versus, oh, I work with this population of kids, I got it. Because you could pigeonhole yourself into a space where you sell yourself as being a master of a thing, where truly what you're doing is learning it. So before you go into anything, just kind of think about, ground yourself in, I'm enough to be where I am, and consider the fact that you have been a great support versus I mastered this and I got this. Because you want principals to truly understand that you are still, as a parent, evolving as a teacher, not someone that's coming in and you got it all. You don't want to paint yourself as being an expert, paint yourself as being an honest learner so that the principal knows that they are also responsible for continuing and supporting your learning, not, oh, they know everything. I hope that makes sense.
I
I see
got
a
one
thumbs
thumbs
up
up.
from Rhonda. Got it.
Great. All right. That's it that we have for you guys. The main thing is communication's key. Let us know if you're struggling with application, interviews, any district issues. You know how to contact us. But other than that, we're going to hang on for a little bit. I'm going to stop recording and we can ask questions.